Hello and welcome to the first in a series of podcasts from the Entrepreneurs Forum. Talking Future focuses on the work and lives of Northeast entrepreneurs, especially their views on the future and how they are innovating as they plan ahead. I'm Yvonne Bell, and today I'll be talking to Dan Martin, who, after establishing his own electrical contracting firm, wanted to diversify, and though solar energy was a big thing at the time, he didn't want to go down the same route as everyone else. It was about that time that he came across an article on electric vehicles and wondered how they charge. This proved to be the inspiration behind the business and the eureka moment. That was in 2014, and today Elmtronics is the UK's largest independent supplier and installer of electric charging points for cars, employing 28 people nationwide with a forecasted turnover of 3 million for this year. Good morning, Dan.
Morning, Yvonne. Hi.
How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, I'm not too bad.
And am I talking to you in concert?
Yes, I'm up at our new offices in Concert. Yeah,
which I believe you've just been preparing.
We have been, we've been busy over the last couple of months. So we've got a new warehouse, we've got new office space, and it's really starting to take shape. So about 90% there.
Great. So anyway, what sort of made you get passionate about all things electrical when you were a younger person?
I started as an electrician, actually. I was a time-served electrician for a localised contracting firm. Mm-hmm. But I was obsessed with setting up my own business. So, I was looking at sandwich shops. I was looking at kind of, any type of business really, and, doing the thing where you go around and view them and kind of, try to put the numbers together. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of wanted to escape off away from that side of things, because I was really interested in the business side. Yeah. In 2008, we were made redundant, unfortunately, when everything kind of crashed, and I took on a pub.
Oh,
so so I'd always worked in pubs, since I was a young chap, and I just like the business side of it, and obviously, it really appealed to me. So we took on a pub, and that led to another one, a bigger one, with rooms and things like that, and really kind of enjoyed it. Really got into the flow of it, and then I decided to set up an electrical company, kind of move away from the pub life, because it's a bit.
Because this is what you knew.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that was what I was kind of, I was trained on. I was familiar with, and I set up an electrical company, and it was okay. Everything was kind of taken over. But it's quite a hard kind of landscape. There's lots of competition, and it's hard to break through from being a kind of one or two man band to to any sizable business. Mm-hmm. And what I was looking around at different possibilities, to different opportunities, and it was a time when everyone was getting really into solar. There was lots of grants and subsidies for it. But I didn't want to do what everyone else was doing. I was trying to find something different, something unique, and came across an article about electric vehicles and kind of dug into that a little bit, because obviously they need charging in some way, shape or form, and found that the charging side of things was very much in its infancy, and it was dominated by one or two different companies. I thought, there's a real opportunity there. These things aren't going to go away.
Did you just feel like you could get into that, and you just really saw that there was a sort of gap?
Well, there was, but the same week the government released a grant so that people could have an electric vehicle charge point fitted at their home, and it was £1,000 grant, and it was so effectively people could have it for free, which was an absolute gift, to jump on that at that point. We put the second charge point under that grant in the UK, so we're really early to it. Mm-hmm. And then what we did is we were looking at different ways of advertising this. So we did the whole kind of walking around housing estates, putting the flyers through the doors, like you do when you start a business. You get your sleeves rolled up and get stuck into it.
Yep.
And then we looked at possibility of advertising on radio, which was a bit of a pipe dream, you know, for us at the time. And I remember telling my business partner, Anthony, you're just a dreamer, you know. But I dug into it. I went down to Metro FM and spoke with the account managers and said, you know, I've got very little money, but I want to put this advert out here. So they came up with a package that kind of worked, you know, started off slowly. And it just kind of exploded in the first
So it did work. The advertising did work. Oh,
yeah, it went really well actually. Yeah. And you know, in the first year we did 400 grand, and that was starting the business from £1,000, a laptop and a van. You know,
that was it.
Yeah, we started the business in a barn on a farm, bought 200 quid's worth of plaster boards, made some walls, jumped onto the farmers' Wi-Fi without them knowing. And just kind of ran from there, and that was the starting point.
But when you say we, I was wondering actually, when your first excitement about this came, were you not frightened to mention it to somebody, or did you have somebody you could trust anyway?
Well, Anthony, who's my business partner, he was, so we've worked together since we were 16, best mates.
You trust him?
Yeah, definitely. You know, we don't always see eye to eye, but you know, we always get there. But we've got a good partnership, and he was an electrician for me at the time, and I said, look, if you give us, he had a few quid in savings. I said, look, chuck your savings in, we'll go halves. I'll throw the van and the tools and stuff in, and that's how it really started.
And when the pair of you were sort of starting up, what did you find were your biggest obstacles?
It was probably setting up accounts, getting credit, you know, starting from scratch really, with wholesalers, you know, to get that, those hundreds and hundreds of units that we're putting in place, we need a lot of materials.
What about money? Did you need more money?
We did the classic not paying yourself for the first 6 months, which was tough.
It's a bit painful, isn't it?
It is, but you know, without those kind of early sacrifices, you know, it's really hard to get there. And I think that's often the biggest hurdle, is going from, you know, a secure regular wage to going, you know, going home and telling your wife that like 6 months we might not be able to pay ourselves. So if anything, you know, it was Susie's support really that helped me to get this business off the ground.
Yeah. So you weren't having to sort of speak to banks and things at that point?
We were very fortunate that we got a £25,000 startup loan. So we went to a local fund, Rivers Capital, who managed to facilitate a 25 grand loan after a few months, which really helped the cash flow. It helped us to put a website together and to really get rolling. That was, you know, again, it was a step, and without that, we wouldn't have been, you know, got the traction that we did. So I think all of these little steps put together, and the sacrifices and all these bits, and, you know, good fortune, and the fact that the grant was there at the time, you know, it was a kind of a perfect storm really, that really helped to get us rolling.
Do you believe there's a bit of luck comes into these things?
I think there's a bit of luck. I mean, you make your own luck. I believe there's opportunities everywhere, and you know, if you either walk past them or you grab a hold of them. And I'm just really glad that we grabbed that one and you know, cracked on.
Yeah. How has the firm changed since your early days then? What makes you different now?
When we first started, we were very much focused towards domestic. That was what we were familiar with. It was, you know, where the grants were focused towards. What's happened over the years is we've developed through into a fleet offering. In the early days, fleets weren't even looking at this. You know, this was pre-Tesla. There wasn't the interest really, or there wasn't the interest or the vehicles to access. So it was more kind of individuals, the kind of early adopters, that were doing this. But as it's developed, you know, we started to work in the early days with NHS trusts. NHS trusts talk with other NHS trusts who talk with local authorities, and we've used word of mouth a lot to kind of drive things. But we are very much at this moment a commercial solutions provider. However, changing as a company, we really believe in having a strong culture and having fun and having a laugh and enjoying what we're doing. Trying not to take ourselves too seriously, whilst
get the job done.
Yeah, and building the business and it's great. It's working.
So moving on to the car sector as a whole, apart from some odd looking vehicles on the road, most cars look fairly much the same because they have to follow design patterns because of the engines. What do you think we're going to see? What's going to happen next,
Well, I think certainly a shift towards electric vehicles with small vans, cars. The undoubtedly manufacturers now are pumping all of their own R&D budgets into electrification. No one's kind of designing the next new diesel engine. So we're going to see a mass change over the next 5 years towards that. There's obviously incentives in place as well. So, I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer from a business perspective to move out towards it. Large-scale HGV, rail, aeroplanes, I think they're very much going to lean towards a combustible like hydrogen. So, electric is great in one, but it doesn't fit every, it doesn't fit every model. And I think the heavier stuff will kind of move towards that. But what we're seeing is from a charging perspective, wireless charging's definitely on the horizon. So that's, like your phone, how you kind of, or your toothbrush, how that wirelessly charges. We've got the technology to do that with vehicles, which is extra exciting. And that's something that we're looking to be one of the first organisations in the UK to offer that to market. So watch this space.
Wow. How many vehicles do you think there are on the road at the minute that you're attempting to go at? I know you're not going for all of them because you're sort of being specific on where you're targeting, but what is your market size-wise? Is there a huge number to go at now, never mind in the future?
Oh yeah, I think a lot of companies are very much still at the early stage, but this is where we kind of really help them, get them used to the vehicles, get them onboarded with the vehicles. We do training, on electric vehicles, which is how to drive them and things like that, which is quite unique for a charging company. But it's just really helping customers along, and I think that customer service isn't something that should be kind of underestimated. It's the best business strategy you could possibly have is give really concise and consistent high quality customer service. So that's well, yeah.
What about the range for people now? What sort of range do most cars have still? Is it limited to 200 miles or is it a lot more than that now?
It depends on the site, on the vehicle. So you've got Teslas that can do up to almost 400 miles off a charge now.
Oh, right. It's getting good then.
Yeah, I mean that's in comparison with the diesel engine, really. But again, it depends because if you're an individual that does 20 miles a day, you don't necessarily need a 400 mile
range
larger vehicle. So you would tend to buy the vehicle that suits you. Yeah, exactly.
And that could apply to NHS, couldn't it? And people like that who probably do local work.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of people like community nurses and people like that who use them, don't they?
That's right, yeah. So we've got a lot of NHS customers around the UK. One of the biggest is actually Northumbria. NHS have got the largest NHS electric fleet in the UK. And they've so they use it for porterage, for the medical records, etc. And they use them for pool cars, for social workers, for nurses. A lot of staff as well. There's a big incentive and a big push within the NHS to move towards electric vehicles because of the health benefits of lower emissions. So they're trying to set the example, and Northumbria are absolutely smashing it. So I think they've sold or they've got around about 300 Audi e-trons and Jaguar I-Paces amongst the staff. So there's big incentives within the organisation to move towards them. So I mean, it's super interesting, and a lot of organisations are following suit around the UK.
Well, they'll see the benefits. They'll see the benefits of the costs, won't they?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, without a doubt, and so they're investing into it.
And just a bit of a naive question. Do you think the national grid can support it? Are we going to have enough? If everybody charges their car at 6 o'clock at night and we're having our tea, are the lights going to go out?
Well, it's actually, it's not a stupid question. It's quite valid, actually. And there's been an incredible amount of study put into this. Now, 1996 was when we peaked with power usage. So because now we've got more and more energy efficient appliances and systems, lighting, etc., it means that our energy consumption is actually declining, even though the population's increasing. So a study, even if everyone in the UK charged electric vehicles, we wouldn't get to that 1996 peak. This has come from National Grid study. So we can support electrification, but the challenge is more to do with localized power. So if you've got a certain amount of power to your building, without bringing huge cables in, you've got a bit of a challenge to charge multiple vehicles. But there's so many solutions out there to be able to work through this, and that's what we really specialize in.
Yeah. When you were being an electrical contractor, or when you were on the tools early days, this is far removed, isn't it? Far removed from what you were thinking of then, I would imagine.
Of course, absolutely. I mean, we just didn't think about it. I mean, it was kind of, it was too far in the future. And even when electric vehicles were kind of starting to emerge, it was the kind of Sinclair C5, G-Wiz, it was laughed at, really. And who would have thought at that time, moving forward and looking at the Porsche Taycan and the Tesla Roadsters and etc. The type of vehicles that will be available now.
So, were you a car man anyway? Were you interested in cars yourself, or is this the electric side that you're interested in rather than the vehicles themselves?
100% the vehicles. I'll be honest.
You can't call yourself a petrol head, though, can you?
I can't.
You're not a petrol head. Electric head.
That's right, exactly. So I've always loved it, cars. I've always had big V6 turbo BMWs and all sorts of different, and I've wasted a lot of money over the years on various different cars.
I daren't ask you now, what have you got?
I've just taken in a new Audi e-tron.
Oh, very good.
So I've drove for the last few years. I've drove a BMW hybrid, but I've actually moved towards a full electric vehicle now. But it's going to be challenging. I'll be honest. It does around about 220 miles from a charge, and I do around about 30,000 miles a year. So it's going to be a bit of a test. It's going to be a test.
Yeah, it's almost as discipline, isn't it? When you've got something like that, you've got to be disciplined.
Especially
if you live on top of a hill or something.
Well, that's it. Living in Burnhamfield, I'm right on a hill, so yeah. But it's going to be interesting. A bit of a challenge, but and I haven't got it. I'm not the most patient person, so we'll see how we get on.
And through your work with Anthony, is he a similar type of person to you, or did you say he's very different?
He's the polar opposite, completely opposite. So
that works, does it?
It works beautifully. If there was two of me, it wouldn't work. If it was two of him, it wouldn't work. And we're polar opposites. We're kind of, he's very technical. He's quiet. He doesn't like getting involved in anything salesy or marketing. Whereas that's where I love it. Yeah, exactly. I'm less detail oriented.
Yeah, you've got to have the balance, haven't you?
You do, absolutely, and that's just it works really well. It's like the kind of the Jobs and Wozniak from Apple. They were the same personalities as me and Anthony, but completely opposite.
And just on that sort of note, have you got time to follow other business people and entrepreneurs? And if so, who do you follow? I mean, if it's on Twitter or just you look at them in the papers, is there anybody that you sort of watch? I mean, Jobs perhaps? Did you watch him when he was obviously alive? And
yeah, I did, and he was an incredibly smart guy. He was very, very pedantic. I think he had multiple different kind of personalities, but he knew what he wanted, and he had a vision. I think he was a real visionary. Elon Musk is, you have to mention the guy again. He's a complete nut eccentric.
Yeah.
Doesn't give a toss what people think of him. He just gets on with it. But he's been he's been thinking about going to Mars since he was 2, and I don't think there's anyone on the planet that doubts that he'll get there. He's just so driven. And
may never come back. In fact, he probably wouldn't, would he? He wouldn't come back in your lifetime, I don't think.
Well, I don't think so, no. But I think, yeah, I mean, he just goes for it. Yeah, and I have massive admiration for people like that. And I think, Richard Branson, he's getting a bit of a tough time at the moment, but following his career, he was very inspirational. He knows how to do business right. He does things with passion. He looks after the team. He concentrates on building a brilliant team, and I've tried to kind of emulate that. And he has fun, and he's nice. So it just shows you don't have to be an utter knob to be successful. You can be a nice guy and have fun and
and make it work.
Yeah.
Two last things actually. For people starting up, not necessarily in your trade or your business or your sector, but if anybody's starting up in business in any form, what would you say to them? What would your tip of the week be?
The biggest one for me is probably go with your gut. And the instinct, I think, is the best business tool you ever have. It'll be your best friend, and instinct's rarely wrong. And I think that's something that I've kind of really tried to run with, and it's served us really well. And I think the other thing is probably and it's the magic ingredient of any entrepreneur. I think is be relentless. Don't take no for an answer, and never give up. Be tenacious, and there's always a way around the mountain. You just got to find it. And I think that's the absolute core DNA of an entrepreneur.
That sounds good. And thanks very much for that, Dan. It was interesting to speak to you. I'm going to ask you one last thing. It's just something I want to ask you. Driverless cars, what do you reckon? Do you think they take the pleasure out of driving?
I think it's going to be a totally different experience. And I think, is it going to take the pleasure out of driving? Yes. Do I think it's going to give people more time and more people to be more efficient? It's like saying, do you think when they used to wash clothes by hand, would it take the pleasure out of it?
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Never thought of that one. Yeah, never thought of that.
It'll take the pleasure out of it, but it'll take the pain away as well. And I think jumping in the car and driving to Bristol and sitting for 5 hours looking out the window, it could be argued that you could use your time better.
Like being on a train.
Yeah.
Never thought of it like that. Anyway, good to talk to you, Dan.
No problem.
And that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks. See you later.